Yes, because I've been working against human trafficking since 2004, first with Amnesty International as their Stop Violence Against Women campaign spokesperson, where I first learned about modern slavery and was horrified that it was this, $250 billion a year industry that now claims 40 million victims a year. And over 70% of them are women and girls, and 2 million of them are children sexually trafficked. And less than 0.4% of them get out. So over 99% of them are stuck in slavery. And that just, to me, is just mind boggling that we are allowing on our watch people to live in this horrendously exploited way, whether it's labor trafficking or sex trafficking. And of course, the worst is child sex trafficking, which this film addresses. But Tim and I don't remember how we met. We met because our paths crossed through human trafficking. I mean, because it's sort of not that big of a circle, the people who work on this full time. And in 2009, the UN asked me to become their goodwill ambassador for UNODC, the UN Office on Drugs and Crime on Human Trafficking. And I've been doing that ever since, and it's one of the greatest honors and challenges of my life. But I always admired Tim and thought his commitment to helping children was just extraordinary. They haven't gotten better, and there's more people in trafficking now than there were 10 years ago. There's maybe more arrests, more convictions, but the number of people living in bondage is growing, and gangs are taking on human trafficking as a better option to drug selling, because you can sell a person over and over and over again. And very young gang members are trafficking, tween girls who, are recruited through social media, and then compromise has gotten on them, and they're threatened that they're going to be exposed online if they tell or if they try and leave. And this is happening in middle schools across America. I mean, it's insane. Like, when we talk about sex trafficking of minors in America, our domestic minor sex trafficking is mostly populated by American citizen kids. So the problem is right here. It's all over the globe, and it's right here. The United States is a huge consumer of commercial sex, and they're a huge consumer for online child abuse material. So we don't call it online child porn. We call it, videoed child abuse. I mean, you're watching children be hurt, and we're a gigantic consumer for that, which is just horrific. Like, it's just disgusting and awful. And I don't even remember what your first question was, but it was about, yes, it's about like, how have things changed? I think that there's more awareness, but I don't see that tidal wave of action that needs to happen if we are going to address this from a multi-pronged human rights-based approach that goes towards prevention, goes towards ending the impunity the traffickers currently enjoy, and goes towards rehabilitation for those people who have been exited from trafficking, either by their own accord or by someone rescuing them, like Tim does in the film. And all three are necessary, because you can't just continue to do triage. You can't just, okay, we've pulled some people out of it, we're going to give them some help. You actually have to stop it before it happens. You have to address the root causes. In this country, some of the root causes for child sex trafficking are the failed foster care system, abuse at home, lack of access to good education, basically LGBTQIA children not getting the support they need, so they run away. And then as soon as a person runs away from home, within 42 hours, they are propositioned for survival sex, which is a kind of trafficking. So we have a lot of factors here that contribute to it. Probably the biggest factor is that people buy commercial sex. Not everybody who buys child sex is a pedophile. Sometimes this is like an opportunistic situation where it's on the menu. So then the customer is like, I haven't tried that. And a lot of people who are habitual commercial sex buyers are sex addicts. And there is, just like with other addictions, there's parts of the brain that kind of fire up when they have an experience that meets the criteria of that addiction. And with sex addiction, over time, that high starts to wear off from the same kinds of experience. And people go further and further to try and chase that original high that they used to get from, simple pornography and simple sex acts with an adult. They will go further and try and pursue underage people because that's different. That fires up that section that hasn't been tried yet. They will watch more violent videos, or God forbid that, people pay people online to hurt children. This happens. So yeah, I think that things have not gotten better, except that there is a general awareness of human trafficking. But I don't think there's been this heart and head change across the globe that every man and woman has to have to really make a shift where we're all up in arms and saying slavery in our time, the destruction of lives, the torture and cruelty and rape of children, like we can't sanction this. Let's rise up and all work together to solve this. And that hasn't happened. And I think it might be because, trafficking survivors who are exited from that life are a small group, and they're not a constituency, and no politician is worried about getting their vote because they're just generally underground. We don't see them, we don't hear from them generally, although there's some fantastic survivor leaders, but they're not out there in large numbers, and nobody's worried about their vote. So, it's sort of the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we all have to now be that squeaky wheel together with them and say, like, okay, enough is enough. We say, end it now. So that's sort of what I'm hoping that this film contributes to, is a global heart head change, because I think you're really going to fall in love with the children featured in this movie. They're such beautiful souls, and they're such good actors. These kids, you feel like you're watching real people, not child actors who are being, goosed into a performance, or, who are just reading lines. They're so soulful and so empathetic, and you see your own children in them. You see, I'm a mother of 4. You see your own children in them, and you cannot stand what they have to go through. And then there is this beautiful ray of hope in the film that, we can help these children exit this situation on a global level. And that's what I'm hoping that this film starts to accomplish, is that people, their insides are engaged, because this is high art. I really felt that the movie is beautiful. It's so beautifully done, beautifully acted, beautifully shot. I have a very small part in it, so don't expect to see a lot of me in it. But the overall movie is high art, and I think it really works on this gut level that you're going to be pulled in and drawn into the story. You might cry, and then you might feel inspired to take action yourself. That's what has to happen, because we have to go from awareness, general sort of apathetic awareness, to very engaged commitment to action to end this. Sorry, very long answer. I know I did Human Trafficking, the miniseries, which was basically the first large-scale project done about human trafficking with Donald Sutherland. We did it for Lifetime, but it got nominated for Golden Globes and Emmys, and it was kind of a big deal. And it was I was offered it right after I started working with Amnesty, and I had them vet the script to see if it was accurate and respectful. And they said, actually, they pretty much got it right, and it's not exploitative. And yeah, they gave me the thumbs up. And then when promoting that film, I decided I needed to meet survivors. And I met the first 2 of many, many over the years that I've interviewed since then. But they blew me away. There were 2 women who had been trafficked in California in from Latin America. And one was labor trafficked, and the other was labor and sex trafficked. And their stories were so horrific. I could not believe that people were treating other human beings this way. And they were doing it in this country. And one of them said to one of them, she said, "You, in this country, you're lower than a dog. In this country, they have all these kinds of societies for the prevention of cruelty to animals. Nobody here cares about you." And then the other one, who was, and that one was labor trafficked into a sweatshop, a seamstress sweatshop. And the other one was trafficked as a 16-year-old into a domestic servant situation, She was tricked into, she was told, oh, you can get this job, you can surprise your family with money. And as soon as she entered the home, the guy like took her and made her his, sexual slave. And he was a witch, and he was threatening evil doings on her family, that he would kill her brother remotely, and had her just absolutely terrified. And at a certain point, she said she felt so low that she considered taking her own life, but she felt that what she was doing was keeping her brother alive. So she persisted in staying his servant, his slave, so that she could keep her brother alive. And she said that was all I had left to give in this world. And it was so sad because he psychologically manipulated her into being complicit in her own staying in the situation, because he had her so frightened that he was going to hurt her family. And that's the number one leverage the traffickers use, is harm to the family, harm to themselves and harm to the family. And these two women changed my life forever. I just felt like my eyes had been opened and now I could not look away. And so I just became much more involved in the theme, and then, started working with the UN on it in 2009. They saw the work I was doing. I didn't need to be their global ambassador. And I've been doing that ever since, and it's been like an enormous part of my life. I don't remember what the question was. Right. Well, I think that people should know, look, I'm going to give you that this has like a Spielbergian ending. It's not like I was involved in a Holocaust movie that was the darkest Holocaust movie of all time. Nobody lives except for the one Nazi. All the Jewish people in the crematorium, working in the crematorium, they all die. All the rebels who helped blow up Auschwitz all die. Okay. So that's the kind of movie that like I now would be like, it sounds fascinating. I'm afraid of it. This story, although definitely a strong topic that is a challenge to face, there is such beauty in this story. There is redemption. There is heroism. There is reunion. This story has a happy ending. So I think it's really important to say that you're going to go to this film and feel somewhat uplifted by the example of what is possible in the human spirit, what is possible through people who are brave enough to confront something that is truly evil, and parents who never give up loving their children who never give up their own inner strength, their own inner light, and that once exited from their situations can really fully rebound and flower and live the life that they were intended for by God, not this terrible, terrible life that was foisted upon them. So I think this is an inspirational movie. And it does have a happy ending, so I think we want to tell people that. Like, I know it's a spoiler, but I don't want you to think that you're going to go in there and at the end of it, you're just going to want to shoot yourself in the head. I'm sorry. I didn't, that may be trigger warning, but some movies make you feel so dark. And this movie, I think, takes you on a journey through something dark, but leads you into the light.